Welcome to Exploring Sunday Scriptures for February the 2nd, 2022. This is our second installment in the series on the Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon, as you can find it in various translations of the Bible. This four-part series is really focused on this book of love poetry, not only helping us to warm up an otherwise very cold time of the year, but to acknowledge that February often is the month that we associate with Valentine's and with love. And so why not lean into that a little bit with this book that really focuses on human love, but also how in our human relationships, in our relationships of love, that earth can come to reflect heaven, that this is a way in which we experience the presence of God and come to understand God's love for us as well. And so that's largely what this series does. The book unfolds in its short 8 chapters as a progressive reality of a relationship, from the initial phases of attraction and lust and all of those things that happen early on as we become connected to a person, into marriage and the consummation of the relationship, and ultimately as the relationship matures and ages. So it becomes a great way to see the reflection of how love changes and the expressions of love change over time, from simply being compelled and motivated from a very physical point of view, in what first reaches our senses, such as our sense of sight or sense of smell, then into other senses, such as our sense of touch and the physicality of relationship, ultimately to the maturing of relationship and how much it actually just helps us to be the best version of ourselves, how much a mature relationship allows us to really appreciate each other as we age and all the dynamics that age brings with it. That means that we do have a lot of very racy stuff included in this book, and we really start to hear it in these verses. Last week had the beginnings of it in talking about kissing, or the desire to be intimate with the other person. This week really highlights it as we have now passed through the bridal procession, which is largely made up of the 3rd chapter of this book, and now are into the wedding. And really, we can say the consummation of the relationship. And so that is where we are at as we arrive at this 4th chapter, is sort of that sense of, finally, I get to experience you fully. And so we find a lot of references and metaphors here that are on the part in this relationship, which is in this book, a heterosexual relationship of a male and a female, or a man and a woman, although that's not necessarily what this is trying to demarcate as the only nature or type of relationship. But in this case, we have in this couple one really being the prominent speaker throughout this, which is extolling the virtues and beauty of the other. So talking about all of these things that were hidden behind the bridal veil, or at an arm's length prior to then being wedded in a committed relationship, and ultimately the consummation, to now see these features of the other and to honestly enjoy these features of the other. And it concludes with an invitation of the other partner to basically partake and enjoy all of this. So, racy stuff. Is there more that I can say? I think we'll find in here, as I said, not only an enjoyment of these features, but sort of an inventory from head to toe, if you will, particularly focusing on the upper half of the body of the person's beauty. In all of it, it is a celebration or a seeing of the other person as one of perfection, so that there are no flaws that are ultimately shown or shared in this. Just closing the door here. But a sense that everything that is perfect. Now, this all may sound a little interesting to us. What I think I really want to highlight out of this, other than things that are veiled now become revealed, is the celebration of perfection here, as much as it may seem as though it really is holding up this other individual as perfect. It is another person's uniqueness that ultimately makes them perfect in our eyes. And so all of the things that someone else may see as a flaw or and imperfection, when we are truly in love and connected to another individual, those things that make them unique, those flaws are actually what their perfections are. And so that's kind of what I hear here. If you go back to the first chapter, there is not a reluctance, but a sense that one of the speakers' dark skin is somehow going to be something that the other person won't be attracted to. But over and again, we find those aspects that perhaps looking in the mirror may make one feel as though are a liability, the other person sees as part of that perfection, part of the assets of that individual. So we're still very much in young relationship here. And so being in young relationship, we have all of the physicality associated with young relationship. Now, the lay reader for this week certainly has a job ahead of them, as this, I think, reading in public could be a very not embarrassing, but it's not the kind of thing that we're typically used to hearing in church. And so these images and words ultimately are something that perhaps make us a little bashful to really proclaim and announce. This all, again, is a symbolic way for us to understand not only in human relationships the beauty that lies within them, that becomes a way in which we experience the presence of God between one another through that virtue of love, but also symbolic of God's love for us, and in return what our love for God also should be like. So let's get into this. I have a couple of translations for you, and that probably will exhaust most of our time today. I encourage you to go back, starting at the first chapter, and if you can, read from chapter 1 all the way through the end of chapter 4. And as I said, you'll go from the initial phases of the relationship into that relationship as it unfolds and develops, ultimately to the bridal procession, and now to marriage and consummation. So this is predominantly one speaker. I'll try to tweak my voice just a little bit to acknowledge when the shift happens to the other speaker, which is like the last sentence of all of this. So this is Song of Songs, chapter 4, verses 1 through 7 and 9 through 16. How beautiful you are, my love, how very beautiful. Your eyes are doves behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats moving down the slopes of Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes that have come up from the washing, all of which bear twins, and not one among them is bereaved. Your lips are like a crimson thread, and your mouth is lovely. Your cheeks are like halves of a pomegranate behind your veil. Your neck is like the Tower of David built in courses. On it hang 1,000 bucklers, all of them shields of warriors. Your 2 breasts are like 2 fawns, twins of a gazelle that feed among the lilies. Until the day breathes and the shadows flee, I will hasten to the mountain of myrrh and the kiss of frankincense, and the hill, of frankincense. You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you. You have ravished my heart, my sister, my bride. You have ravished my heart with a glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your necklace. How sweet is your love, my sister, my bride. How much better is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your oils than any spice. Your lips distill nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The scent of your garments is like the scent of Lebanon. A garden locked is my sister, my bride. A garden locked, a fountain sealed. Your channel is an orchard of pomegranates with all the choicest fruits, henna and nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with all trees of frankincense, myrrh and aloes, with all chief spices, a garden fountain, a well of living water and flowing streams from Lebanon. Awake, O north wind, and come, O south wind. Blow upon my garden, that its fragrance may be wafted abroad. Let my beloved come to his garden and eat its choicest fruits. Whoo! Some hot stuff. it sounds funny to us, particularly the way that features are referenced. And so we need to appreciate them for the culture in which they came and how much this really would have been great poetry and incredible flattery for that time. So when we have your eyes like doves behind your veil, these are features of that culture that would have meant something so different than the way that we think of them. One of the funny ones for me is your teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes that have come up from washing. So this is like your teeth are very white, and then it continues, all of which bear twins, and not one among them is bereaved, and they're all present, so you're not missing any teeth. So you have these nice white teeth, and they're all there, is part of what's being said. And the comparison of lips is crimson thread, so like a string of crimson. Your cheeks like halves of a pomegranate. Pomegranates are pink, so that's trying to describe that. Neck like the Tower of David. It said, on it hang 1,000 bucklers, all of them shields of warriors, is basically trying to say, like, no one else has been able to climb or descend this tower as I now am. And then we go further down. So we start at the eyes, teeth, neck, and now we move down and it starts talking about other aspects of the body, such as the breasts and even lower. And what we have finally is the response, which is an invitation. This is the consummation of the relationship, the invitation. Come to this place, come to my garden. And so also that sense of letting the winds carry that to the other's nose, the other's senses, so that they can appreciate that. Like I said, whoo, wow, that is some hot stuff. Now I want to shift over to the Message translation just to offer you an alternative in the hearing. It's similar, but also different, as I think that sometimes just having these slightly different translations can help us in our understanding. And so this is the Message variant. Again, I'll try to change my voice ever so much for that last sentence so that you hear that shift in the speakers. But almost all of this is just the same speaker. You're so beautiful, my darling, so beautiful, and your dove eyes are veiled. By your hair as it flows and shimmers like a flock of goats in the distance streaming down a hillside in the sunshine. Your smile is generous and full, expressive and strong and clean. Your lips are jewel red, your mouth elegant and inviting, your veiled cheeks soft and radiant. The smooth, lithe lines of your neck command notice. All heads turn in awe and admiration. Your breasts are like fawns, twins of a gazelle, grazing among the first spring flowers. The sweet, fragrant curves of your body, the soft, spiced contours of your flesh. Invite me, and I come. I stay until dawn breathes its light and night slips away. You're beautiful from head to toe, my dear love, beautiful beyond compare, absolutely flawless. Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Leave Lebanon behind and come. Leave your high mountain hideaway. Abandon your wilderness seclusion where you keep company with lions and panthers. Guard your safety. You've captured my heart. You looked at me and I fell in love. One look my way and I was hopelessly in love. How beautiful your love, dear, dear friend, far more pleasing than a fine, rare wine, your fragrance more exotic than select spices. The kisses of your lips are honey, my love, every syllable you speak a delicacy to savor. Your clothes smell like the wild outdoors, the fresh scent of high mountains. Dear lover and friend, you're a secret garden, a private and pure fountain. Body and soul, you are paradise, a whole orchard of succulent fruits, ripe apricots and peaches, oranges and pears, nut trees and cinnamon and all scented woods, mint and lavender and all herbs aromatic. A garden fountain, sparkling and splashing, fed by spring waters from the Lebanon mountains. Wake up, north wind, get moving, south wind. Breathe on my garden. Fill the air with spice fragrance. Oh, let my lover enter his garden. Yes, let him eat the fine, ripe fruits. Ooh, boy. Ooh, boy. So things remain fairly similar. One of the issues with the message is because it's a paraphrase, in this particular passage, I have left certain segments out just to try to really bring out the meaning of what's here and not get lost in some of the aspects of geography or otherwise. And this has those within them. So you might have heard, come with me from Lebanon, my bride, leave Lebanon behind, and come and leave your high mountain hideaway. This is not included in the other translation that I had, and that's because I'm just trying to bring out this great celebration of the other person and this leaving behind of this thing, which is part of the marriage invitation that lies within this. It doesn't add to the passage there. I think I may have read actually from the NIV to begin with, but I'm uncertain. I'm trying to read here and remember or discern. They are very, very similar, so nope, I haven't read the NIV. So let me conclude by reading one more translation to you. There was just one word I picked up that helped me understand that I hadn't read this one. So this is the New International Version. So one more just to make me blush a little more before we close out our time. How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes behind your veil are doves. Your hair is like a flock of goats descending from the hills of Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep just shorn coming up from the washing. Each has its twin. Not one of them is alone. Your lips are like a scarlet ribbon. Your mouth is lovely. Your temples behind your veil are like the halves of a pomegranate. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built with courses of stone. On it hang 1,000 shields, all of them shields of warriors. Your breasts are like two fawns, like twin fawns of a gazelle that browse among the lilies. Until the day breaks and the shadows flee, I will go to the mountain of myrrh and to the hill of incense. You are altogether beautiful, my darling. There is no flaw in you. You've stolen my heart, my sister, my bride. You've stolen my heart with one glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your necklace. How delightful is your love, my sister, my bride. How much more pleasing is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your perfume more than any spice. Your lips drop sweetness as the honeycomb, my bride. Milk and honey are under your tongue. The fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon. You are a garden locked up, my sister, my bride. You are a spring enclosed, a sealed fountain. Your plants are an orchard of pomegranates with choice fruits, the henna and nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with every kind of incense tree, with myrrh and aloes and all the finest spices. You are a garden fountain, a well of flowing water streaming down from Lebanon. Awake, north wind, and come, south wind. Blow on my garden that its fragrance may spread everywhere. Let my beloved come into his garden and taste its choice fruits. Well, if that doesn't warm us up in February, I'm not sure what will. So if you're interested in hearing how this message gets proclaimed this Sunday, I'd invite you to join with us as we worship together on this first Sunday in February. Remember, it is a communion Sunday, so if you do decide to worship from home, you're going to want to have a piece of bread or a cracker and some juice nearby so that you can also participate in Holy Communion when we come to that aspect of worship. I look forward to continuing to celebrate relationships, human beauty, and how human beauty reflects God's beauty, particularly when that beauty is a celebration of love between people. God bless you, and thanks as always for joining me for Exploring Sunday Scriptures.